Everybody, thank you all for tuning in to Black Alphabet Soup. I'm Adam McMath. I'm the executive director and president of Black Alphabet Film Festival based in Chicago, as well as Black Alphabet Not for Profit, which is a not for profit arts organization that does work around Black LGBT arts. And today I am blessed to be joined by Onyx Keisha. She's the director of a wonderful film, Almost Invisible. So we're going to just talk about that and talk about her life and who she is a little bit and get to know her. So thank you for joining me.
I am so honored and excited to be here.
And I'm happy that you could join me because you're obviously a busy woman. So I really want to just give people an idea of who you are and what you do outside of Almost Invisible. You have been an award-winning filmmaker, so you've done a lot of things around film, and you also do some content creation and some work around helping people on social media as well. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Well, my background is theater. Theater is my heart, and I started my company when I was actually a senior in high school, and it's really been the only thing that I've done. And about halfway, about 10 years into my career, I was like, how do I impact people in a different way? I love theater and the energy exchange that happens, but it was very limited to who had access to it. And so I decided that I would jump into the film world. And I was very clear from the beginning that my journey in film was more about telling stories. It was more about giving a voice to the voiceless and documentary work. And so mid-career, I decided I was going to pack up and move to Atlanta, which at the time was this budding film community. And I was going to go to film school and try it out. And that's what I did. And then after that, the digital social media world exploded. And I said, okay, I have to do both. And so I started to really dive into social media management, specifically YouTube, how to leverage YouTube to build your brand. And I'm a natural teacher. I feel like that's what my calling is. God called me to be a teacher. And so I love teaching that. I spend most of my days either creating or teaching creatives how to monetize their art or how to make film, do theater, and leverage social media. And along the way, I have some awards, and I've been all over the world. I filmed all over the world, and I love telling queer stories with people of color.
So interesting. An interesting side note. We're looking at doing some workshops for Black LGBT artists at some point. So I'll have to call you to kind of see if we can have you come in and speak to our community artists. So let's quickly talk about the film. And this film jumped out at me because it's about a topic that most people don't really engage or talk about, and that's Black trans men.
Yes.
And some of my closest community friends are Black trans men, so it really resonated with me. And I hope it resonates with them when they get an opportunity to see it. But what kind of led you to do this film?
So one of the things that I realized is that in our community, there is still a divide. And a lot of times, especially when it comes to trans men and lesbian women, there is a misunderstanding, a misconnection. And I used to always find myself in circles, and some of the things that I would hear, some of my lesbian friends say, I would always be led to try to adjust their perspective. And so it's a topic that's near and dear to my heart because my stepson transitioned when he was 17. He went to his prom as his full self as a man. He started his first year in college in a male dorm, and navigating that process with him from his senior year in high school until now he's a senior in college, has been very eye-opening. And on top of that, I have dated trans men exclusively for a large part of my life. So I had kind of an experience that I feel like a lot of people don't have. And even as a woman who dates trans men, it's also very difficult when it comes to what do you identify as, and the disrespect that can kind of happen. So I am blessed to know so many amazing trans men. And so this conversation just came up, especially during the height of Black Lives Matter movement, and understanding that so many of them still did not feel like they had a place or had a voice. And so I just asked this question, like, do you feel invisible? And one of my friends said, almost invisible. And that notion just hit me so hard, because to be in that middle space and to be accepted by some, seen by some, but not by all, to not even feel placed in the community that you're supposed to be a part of, or to live a stealth life and not be able to identify with the trans experience. I just feel like more people needed to hear these stories.
Yeah, and you mentioned stealth. So, for the purpose of people that may not know what that term is, can you explain it a bit?
Sure. So it means that you are living your life fully as your new self. So that means nobody knows that you have transitioned. Everyone just knows you as he, him, and that's it. That's who you are. That's how you function in the world. And so I have quite a few friends who nobody knows in their current life, not their job, not their church, not their circle, and they are fully integrated into this world as men. And then I know some trans men who are like, no, I am a trans man, I am a man of trans experience. And even though the world perceives them as men, they still stand on, I'm trans. And so that's a big difference.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, with that, how hard was it for you to get people to talk about this in your film?
That is a great question, because I have been thinking about doing this type of work for a while, and that has been the hardest thing,
Mhm.
especially the trans men that I know who are just a really great representation of the trans experience. They are very hesitant to speak on a public platform, and it's so understandable because it's very dangerous. It's not just a matter of, oh, I don't want to. There's so many factors to think about, and your safety and the safety of your family is a big one. And so for this project, I think it was a little easier because how the height of everything that was happening, it was almost like the men that I interviewed, they felt compelled to talk about it. So it made it a easier conversation, and we made sure it was a really safe space, and we were able to, honor their story and tell their story in a way that we could protect them as much as we could.
Cool. So, what has the film done so far? Like, and uh, I'm going to add to that. What's the reception been so far?
Okay, so the film is doing very well in the film festival circuit. We have been screened and picked up by over a dozen festivals, and we're really just in the beginning phase of this.
Mhm.
And response has been exactly what I've hoped it to be. It has sparked discussion and discussion on both sides. We have a lot of support. I get a lot of people who are grateful for the platform and have learned something, but we also have people who are very disrespectful. They
Mm-hmm.
are like rooted in their beliefs and their thoughts and their misconceptions about the trans experience. And it doesn't just happen to my cast and my crew. My producer is a trans man, my editor is a trans man. Like, this is not just like I'm coming from the outside and I'm doing this. No, I wanted to make sure that I brought everybody I could in. So it doesn't just come to them, it comes to me as well. Why am I telling these stories? Or this whole notion of are you straight, are you a lesbian, you're really a lesbian because they're trans, like all of these things happen. But the beautiful thing is it sparks the discussion, because I don't get offended. I just take it as an opportunity for us to talk, for there to be a dialogue that has happened. But the response has been really good. But I tell you, some people um some people don't really think that there's a divide.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
some people don't reason.
Yeah, it's interesting because we have a similar story with that. I made a film maybe 10 years ago about masculine associated lesbians or studs,
Uh-huh.
and everybody's like, "Why is a man making that movie?" And
Right.
and always my response was, "Hey, I was asked to make the movie by some of my stud friends because I was the only one in the group that was a filmmaker. But I did make that the the choice to bring them in and make
Yeah.
them part of the production team.
Yeah.
And make the experience about them. And really, it was really a learning experience for me. Did you learn any
Mm.
through the process of this film? What did you learn anything new
I
about?
I learned so much, because even though, I was there for my stepson's transition, and I was in very long-term relationships, I still did not understand that concept of almost invisible.
Hmm.
I still didn't understand, because from my vantage point, especially the trans men in my circle, they always seem so confident, so rooted, so sure. Like, you have to have a level of confidence to even begin this journey, right? So the vulnerable side, the fear side, or even the fear for their families, I didn't always experience that, because I just experienced the other side. And through
Hmm.
the documentary, I was able to see that vulnerability in a different way. And I was able to see the areas where they feel excluded from the LGBTIQA community. And I felt like, okay, these are conversations that we need to have, because sometimes it's not always from outside of us. Sometimes it's from inside, the community of color, the alphabet community of color. And I
Hmm.
just heard so many stories about how they felt discriminated against or judged within our own community. And that just
Hmm.
broke my heart.
I agree. I think films like this will assist our community in being more inclusive. And a lot of people from the outside looking in don't realize that the LGBT community has a lot of work to do in that lane. So I think films like this will help move that along. So what do you want people that are new to the trans male experience to walk away with after watching this film?
I really want them to walk away with a sense of compassion,
Mhm.
awareness, um, and understanding, not understanding the trans experience, because that's a very personal experience, but understanding that trans men have a very different journey in this life. and that feeling invisible does not always happen from outside of us. Sometimes it happens from inside of us. And just compassion and empathy, you know. Just because the presentation may be very solid and strong and masculine, it doesn't mean that nurturing and love and empathy don't also need to reside there. Yeah.
Wonderfully said. And my final question is, what's next for you? What are you working on next?
Well, I'm working on a couple of things. A couple of films. I actually wrapped a big Christmas movie called The Higher Spirit. That is going straight to market, but we're doing a Christmas tour for all of December. So we have a couple of places. We have Las Vegas, LA, Sacramento, Atlanta. And so it is like this huge Christmas movie. I love God and I love Christmas, and this movie is all about it. So that's really big. And I think to see the queer community of color in a beautiful Christmas movie is something I'm really, really proud of, really excited about. So I have that happening, and I got projects here and there. I'm always working, and I do this full time. It's my life. So sometimes I might wake up in the morning and get an inspiration, and that's it. A movie is being created.
So let me add this. I didn't hear Chicago on that list of cities.
We would love to come to Chicago.
We'll have to discuss that offline, because we love Christmas movies in Chicago for sure. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule, because when I was looking through your bio, I was like, she is booked and busy. So thank you for taking the time. And where are you based, and how do people keep an eye out for what you're doing next?
Well, I am Onyx Keisha on everything social media, ONYXKEESHA. So if you follow any of my social media platforms, you'll be able to keep up with what I'm doing. I have a lot of my older films on my YouTube channel. I have a film called Church Herd and We Need a Little Christmas and Her. And so you can really catch up on some of my work there. And, I currently reside in 3 states, New Jersey, Georgia, and Las Vegas. So I have offices all over. And so I literally state hop. That's why I'm in the car now, guys, because I'm traveling. I'm on the road. But I'm very accessible. I love to talk to creatives. Let's make magic, and let's kill that notion of the starving artist.
Yes, okay, from your lips to my ears on that. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll definitely be in contact and see what you're doing next.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.